When 16-year-old Mookie Betts walked into Murphy's bowling alley at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night using a fake ID and the alias MB, nobody in Boston's underground bowling scene could have predicted they were watching a future MLB superstar secretly funding his family's survival. The smoky basement of Murphy's was filled with the sounds of crashing pins and hushed conversations about money. This wasn't your typical family bowling night. This was where Boston's most skilled bowlers came to compete for serious cash. Stakes often reached thousands of dollars per game, and the players were ruthless. What none of these hardened gamblers knew was that the quiet teenager who'd been dominating their tournaments for months was simultaneously becoming one of the most promising high school baseball prospects in the country. Mookie had discovered this underground world by accident 6 months earlier. His mother, Diana, was working double shifts at the Tennessee Department of Transportation, but the medical bills from his grandmother's heart condition were overwhelming their family. Every month brought new financial pressure, and Mookie watched his mother's stress grow with each unpaid invoice. That's when he remembered his secret weapon, a talent that had nothing to do with baseball. At age 13, Mookie had bowled a perfect 300 game and won the Tennessee State Youth Bowling Championship. While his teammates were playing video games, Mookie was studying pin physics and perfecting his approach. Little did anyone realize that this seemingly unrelated skill would become the key to his family's financial salvation. The first time Mookie entered Murphy's, he was terrified. The bouncer barely glanced at his fake ID before waving him toward the basement. The scene that greeted him was unlike anything he'd imagined. Dozens of serious-faced adults gathered around regulation bowling lanes with stacks of cash changing hands after every frame. "New kid wants to play," announced Tommy Strike Martinelli, the unofficial king of Boston's underground bowling. He looked Mookie up and down with obvious skepticism. "Entry fee is $500. You sure you got that kind of money, kid?" Mookie nodded nervously, clutching the envelope containing his entire savings, money he'd earned from part-time jobs and baseball camp prizes. What he didn't know was that losing this money would mean his grandmother wouldn't get her medication that month. The games began, and something extraordinary happened. As Mookie approached the lane for his first throw, the same focus that made him deadly at the plate took over completely. He could see the exact path the ball needed to take, visualize the pin action, calculate the perfect release point. Strike after strike followed. The underground veterans watched in growing amazement as this unknown teenager systematically destroyed their best players. Behind every perfect throw was a desperation these men couldn't understand. Mookie wasn't bowling for glory or pride. He was bowling for his family's survival. By 3 a.m., Mookie had won $1,800, more money than his mother made in a month. As he carefully folded the bills and prepared to leave, he had no idea that someone had been watching him with very different intentions. What happened next would transform Mookie's secret bowling career from a financial necessity into the foundation of his baseball greatness. But first, he would have to face the most dangerous moment of his double life. 3 weeks later, Mookie had established himself as MB, the mysterious teenager who appeared at different bowling alleys across Boston, won substantial money, and vanished before anyone could learn his real identity. What he didn't realize was that his growing reputation had attracted the attention of someone who would change everything. Pete Donovan had been scouting baseball talent for the Boston Red Sox for over 20 years. He'd seen thousands of prospects, but few caught his attention the way the young player from Nashville had. Mookie Betts was on every scout's radar. His combination of speed, power, and defensive instincts was rare. But on this particular Thursday night, Pete wasn't thinking about baseball at all. He'd come to Riverside Bowling Center to meet an old friend, never expecting to witness something that would revolutionize his understanding of athletic potential. Little did Pete realize that the teenager dominating the high-stakes tournament in the corner was the same player he'd been tracking for months. Mookie was in the middle of his most challenging night yet. The competition included several semi-professional bowlers who'd driven in from New York specifically to face the legendary MB. The stakes had escalated to $3,000. Winner takes all. As Pete waited for his friend, he found himself drawn to the intense young bowler who moved with an athlete's precision. There was something familiar about the teenager's stance, his focus, the way he calculated each approach. Behind the bowling shoes and casual clothes was an unmistakable athletic grace that Pete had learned to recognize. During a break between frames, Pete got closer to get a better look. When the teenager turned around, Pete nearly dropped his coffee. It was Mookie Betts. Pete's mind raced with implications. A top baseball prospect gambling in underground bowling tournaments could create a massive scandal. His first instinct was to intervene, to pull Mookie aside and demand an explanation. But something made him hesitate. The kid's face showed a determination that went beyond teenage rebellion. What Pete discovered next would completely change his perspective on talent development and the lengths young athletes would go to support their families. During Mookie's final game, Pete overheard a phone conversation that revealed everything. Mookie stepped aside to take a call, and Pete heard him say quietly, "Mom, the doctor says Grandma needs the heart medication twice daily now. Don't worry about the cost. I'll have the money tomorrow." The pieces suddenly clicked into place. This wasn't about teenage gambling or rebellion. This was about survival. Pete realized he was witnessing something extraordinary. A young man using one elite athletic skill to fund his family's needs, while simultaneously developing another skill that would make him famous. But what Pete didn't anticipate was how this discovery would lead to a conversation that would unlock the secret behind Mookie's incredible baseball abilities. As Mookie rolled his final strike and collected his winnings, Pete made a decision that would change both their lives. He approached the teenager with a simple question that would reveal the hidden connection between bowling perfection and baseball greatness. The answer Mookie gave would not only explain his supernatural hand-eye coordination, but also establish a training method that no other MLB prospect had ever used. Pete Donovan approached Mookie as he packed up his bowling bag, his mind still reeling from what he'd witnessed. "Mookie Betts?" he said quietly, showing his Red Sox credentials. "I'm Pete Donovan. We need to talk." Mookie's face went pale. His secret was exposed, and he braced for the consequences. Suspension from high school baseball, scandal, the end of his college prospects. But Pete's next words surprised him completely. "Before we discuss anything else," Pete said, "I want you to know that what I saw tonight was the most impressive display of athletic precision I've encountered in 20 years of scouting." What Pete asked next would unlock the secret that had been hiding in plain sight. "How long have you been using bowling to train your batting eye?" Pete asked, pulling out a notebook. Mookie looked confused. I bowl to help my family financially. It's not connected to baseball." Pete smiled knowingly. "Son, everything you did tonight, the way you read lane conditions, calculated oil patterns, adjusted your approach based on pin carry, that's the same visual processing that makes you deadly at the plate. You've been accidentally creating the perfect training program." What Pete asked next would unlock the secret that had been hiding in plain sight. In baseball, you're processing the pitcher's release point, the ball's rotation, the strike zone dimensions, all in milliseconds. In bowling, you're doing the same thing with lane conditions, pin physics, ball dynamics. You've been cross-training your visual cortex without realizing it. Mookie stared at him in amazement. The connection had never occurred to him, but now it seemed obvious. The same focus that allowed him to bowl perfect games was exactly what made him so dangerous in the batter's box. "There's more," Pete continued. "The pressure situations you've been handling here, thousands of dollars on the line, hostile opponents, high-stress environments, you've been preparing yourself for clutch moments in ways that no traditional training could replicate." But Pete's most important question was still coming. "Mookie, what would you say if I told you that what you're doing here could legally continue and actually accelerate your baseball development if we structured it properly?" Pete explained his idea. Instead of underground gambling, Mookie could work with professional bowling coaches who understood the biomechanical connections between bowling and batting. The Red Sox organization could even sponsor his training, ensuring his family's financial stability while maximizing his athletic development. What happened over the next 6 months would create a completely new approach to baseball training, with Mookie as the test case. The underground bowling career that had started as a desperate attempt to help his family became the foundation for one of the most unique training programs in professional sports. Mookie's perfect games weren't just funding his grandmother's medication. They were building the hand-eye coordination that would eventually make him one of the greatest players in MLB history. The secret weapon that nobody saw coming had been hiding in a basement bowling alley, where a teenager's love for his family had accidentally created the perfect preparation for baseball greatness. Sometimes, the most extraordinary training happens in the most unexpected places. Mookie Betts' secret bowling career didn't just fund his family's needs, it created the foundation for his incredible MLB success. Sometimes, the most extraordinary training happens in the most unexpected places. Mookie Betts' secret bowling career didn't just fund his family's needs, it created the foundation for his incredible MLB success. What other hidden talents might be preparing the next generation of superstars?